What is going on, guys? It is Crusty K's here from the Gold Boys Network, coming to you with the Week 1 CFB preview. So what we're going to do here, similar to the MLB one, I'm going to talk about 10 games, give you guys my picks, give you what I like, and we're going to make some money. Right now, looking at FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's jump into this. I got a lot to talk about. So the first one we're going to talk about, probably one of the biggest matches on the slate, Clemson taking on Georgia. I mean, this is a popular game that I'm sure everybody's going to be watching. There's a lot of talk about how Cade Klubnik is back, step forward, Clemson's back, Dabo this, Dabo that. The biggest issue for this Clemson team, in my opinion, is the fact that they refuse to use the transfer portal. And it's hard to improve when you're constantly just keeping the same guys who struggled. I know they have another year of experience, whatever, but maybe these guys aren't the right fit. Dabo, obviously, as we all know, very reluctant to use the portal, actually doesn't use it at all. And for me, that will prevent them from making a step forward really in any season until he kind of, adapt or die at this point, in my opinion. So for me in this game, it's Georgia minus 13.5. Absolutely love it. Carson Beck, we all know, had a great season last year. This is a guy who picked apart good defenses, picked apart bad defenses. He's going to see a good defense here in Clemson, but I think the step from the ACC to the SEC is a lot more physical, and I don't think Clemson's ready for that. So I like the big boys at Georgia to kind of push this team around, bully them a little bit, especially defensive side of the ball. Georgia, we all know that defense is absolutely tenacious, and I think that Cade Klubnik, last season he was sacked 28 times. This offensive line struggled with that. I believe they were like bottom 30 in a sack rate, so one of the worst, one of the highest in all of college football. And now you're going to face an SEC team in Georgia who's consistently top 10 in QB pressures. This just feels like a spot where Cade Klubnik is on his back, running for his life. And, unfortunately for them, they're not going to be able to run the ball either. So to put this game on Klubnik's arm with that kind of pressure, in my opinion, it's just a bad spot for him. It's a bad spot for Clemson. And I think Georgia wins this one in a big way. Give me Georgia minus 13.5 to start the season. The next one I want to talk about is the Virginia Tech Hokies taking on Vanderbilt. This is a game that might not be on a lot of people's radar, but for me, really interested in this game. I think Virginia Tech has a lot to offer this season, really expecting a big jump forward from them. That defense was nasty. We all know that. The defensive line, the amount of pressure they got on the quarterback last year, absolutely incredible. And that's going to carry over into this season too, so I think this team's going to definitely make some noise. They return a ton of talent on offense, running backs, quarterback, receivers, across the board. All the skill positions are back. This team sets up for in a very, very winnable conference, in my opinion. The ACC is incredibly soft, and I think that this thing is wide open. So Hokies making noise, potentially. Anyway, more on this game. So for me here, spread sitting at 13.5. It's going to be the Hokies minus 13.5, and I'm going to tell you why. So Vanderbilt, obviously we all know the defense is absolutely terrible. Brought in a couple guys, not enough to make a difference in my opinion. Offensive side of the ball, they brought in Diego Pavia. They brought in Stowers, the tight end from New Mexico State as well. I do think offensively they'll be a bit better, but this is going to be easily the toughest defense that Diego Pavia has seen in his collegiate career. And I think people fail to understand that. So for me here, I just think this Virginia Tech defense is going to suffocate them. I think Vanderbilt's going to struggle to score points. And I think the Hokies on offense with Drones and Bilal Tootin absolutely have a field day. So give me the Hokies minus 13.5. If you're looking at props in this one, I think Tootin's rushing yards are 100% in play. I think he runs all over this Vanderbilt defense. I wouldn't be surprised if Drones gets to his too, but give me the Hokies minus 13.5. Our next one, the Miami Hurricanes taking on the Florida Gators in the Swamp. This game, 2.5 point spread. And I mean, for me here, I like Miami. So you get a Miami Hurricanes team who comes into this game, added a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. They brought in Cam Ward from Washington State. They brought in Damian Martinez from Oregon State. Two huge pieces for the offense. Restrepo is back at receiver. So, I mean, this team is loaded offensively. The offensive line remains pretty much intact. Should be able to rip off, 5 yards carry again this season with ease. Really like what this team did. Obviously, the limiting factor here is Cristobal. We all know that. But Napier is not much better on the other side. So, the way you get to Graham Mertz, the way you make Florida struggle is pressuring Graham Mertz, and that's exactly what this Miami D-line is going to do. If you haven't seen this Miami defense before, up front, they're big, they're bad, they're going to make some noise, they're going to do some damage. And I think they can get to Graham Mertz here, ultimately make him struggle. And that ultimately is the difference here. I think this game's going to be physical. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think you're going to see a lot of running the ball. The Swamp is a tough place to play. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not. But this Miami team, I've joked a few times in the Discord that the U is back. Well, the U is back. Give me Miami on the money line here. If you want to lay the 2.5, you're more than welcome to. I'll take the money line, though. I think I caught it in the Discord like minus 120. Might be a bit juiced now, minus 140-ish, but in my opinion, still very playable. Our next one that we're going to talk about, game number 4, is Alabama taking on Western Kentucky. So, I mean, this is not a game that's probably on a lot of people's radar, but I want to talk about it because it's Alabama, and, I mean, who doesn't want to talk about Alabama? So, Jalen Monroe, I'm expecting a huge season out of him. Heisman type, season in my opinion. He's an incredible player. They bring in DeBoer, who's been a winner, won at Washington, obviously. And this just feels like a spot. I mean, obviously it's a tune-up game, but I think we're going to see this Bama team come out and just kind of see what DeBoer's offense is going to be early. I think they score very early and often. I think that ultimately where I went in this game was the first quarter spread minus 7.5. It's at plus 120. It's a great price. Obviously, it's not a football number, but you look at this game, and this game screams to me 14-0, 10-0 after one with relative ease. They're going to see TJ Finley, who played in the SEC. He's a guy who, in my opinion, just not a very good thrower of the football. If you've watched him play, this is a guy who's a bit mistake prone. You're in this air raid Western Kentucky offense, and turnovers are likely. So for me, I like Bama to start fast. I like them to be up, 10-0, 14-0 after one, like I said, and cover this minus 7.5 at a great price to plus 120. Oddly enough, when I was looking at this game, Western Kentucky's first quarter team total, the under a half, was minus 210. And then Bama's first quarter team total was 9.5, juice to the over. So, I mean, if we're looking at lines, Bama should score 10 and Western Kentucky scored 0. Like, you know what I'm saying? So even beyond the actual, football aspect of it, the lines are even kind of trying to tell you that. So for me here, Bama minus 7.5 in the first quarter. It's a great price at plus 120. Think they cover it. Nice little plus money cash for us. The next one we're going to talk about, UNLV taking on Houston. This is a game that probably is not on a lot of people's radar, but it's a sneaky good game in my opinion. So UNLV is a team finished 9-5 last season. In my opinion, set to compete once again in the Mountain West. Still not sure who they're going to roll out at quarterback yet. They brought in a couple guys. Looking like Schooler right now, dual threat. Really good with his legs. Actually has a pretty good arm too. And I think him with the combination of the receivers they have, Ricky White, this just feels like another year where UNLV can put up a ton of points offensively. Biggest question being their defense. But they get a very winnable matchup here against Houston, in my opinion. Houston is sort of like in a rebuilding stage. They obviously still have Manjack, which is big for them. They brought in Donovan Smith from Texas Tech. And, I mean, he's a good quarterback. I think that he can find success here as well. In terms of a side, I do like UNLV plus the points. But what I ultimately settled on here was the over. I just see points. I see a ton of points. You get two defenses that aren't good. You get two quarterbacks with the ability to sling it. And like I said, Skula has the ability to run as well, which ultimately I think just makes him a matchup nightmare for Houston. So give me the over here. I believe the total is sitting at, let me give you guys an accurate number. Total is sitting at 54.5 right now. So give me the over 54.5 in the UNLV Houston game. The next one we're going to talk about here, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish taking on the Texas A&M Aggies at College Station. An absolutely incredible week one matchup. Cannot wait to watch this game. Riley Leonard, the quarterback for Notre Dame, as we all know. Awesome. Love will be the RB1 for this Notre Dame team, which I'm a little I'm unsure there's going to be a little shoulder the workload, but we'll see, right? Texas A&M obviously brought in Mike Elko, who is the head coach of Duke, who coached Riley Leonard. So for me here, I really like this under. It's at 46.5 right now, and I honestly am not surprised. I'm actually surprised it hasn't ticked down more. This is just a battle of two powerhouse defensive teams, and I think we're going to see that here. Riley Leonard, his first game action since returning from injury. I think he's going to be a little bit rusty, going to struggle with this pass rush for sure, and I think they can obviously bottle up the run. On the other side, Notre Dame, their defense is probably sneakily going to be a top 5 defense this season. Obviously, they were a great defense last year. Expecting more of the same here. The line is great. They have an NFL-ready corner on one side. And for me, this is just a defensive slugfest. This thing probably, does it break 30 points? Truthfully, it's going to be an awesome game to watch. Give me the under 46.5 in the Notre Dame A&M game. So that was 6 games from Saturday. I said 10 when we started. I'm going to go with 8 games because I don't want to talk about like all these tune-up games and stuff because for me, they're tough to bet on because you're seeing it in the games that are going on right now as I'm recording this where these teams just don't seem like they care. So for me, we're going to skip some of these tune-up games. We're going to talk about the games that matter, talk about the matchups that we all want to talk about. So let's move on to Sunday, and then we'll talk about Monday, and we'll get out of here. That'll be 8 games, more than enough to make a whole bunch of money. So Sunday night is USC taking on LSU. They're playing in Las Vegas. This should be an absolute track meet. You're getting 2 quarterbacks who obviously come in having to replace 2 excellent quarterbacks in Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. Do I think they replace them? No. But these defenses are Swiss cheese is an understatement. A lot of talent at receiver in these games, a lot of talent at running back in these games, but just a lot of talent at the skill positions in general. Really think we see a ton of points in this one. Feel like USC is the right side. I don't know if I'm going to push the button just yet, but I will give you guys USC plus 4.5. I like them on the money line too. I just like their offense in this spot. I think LSU, in terms of the offenses here, I think USC is going to have an easier transition losing Caleb Williams than LSU will have losing Jaden Daniels. So for me, you look at the LSU offense before, and with Jaden Daniels, how many plays came off of like where he escapes the pocket, escapes pressure, this broken plays, like guys getting downfield because they had to cover for 10 seconds. You're losing all of that here with I think it's Nuss, they call him Nuss. So you're losing all of that. This guy is a statue in the pocket. And I think that makes a big difference. I think they're going to struggle at first because you're going to have to be more of a traditional offense, and that's really not what they were. Although he threw the ball a lot and he ran a lot, they weren't like a traditional offense per se. Like I said, we saw a lot of plays that were a little improv. You lose all that improv here with Nuss. So for me, I just like the skill. I like the skill players on both sides. I just think USC has an easier transition, and I think Lincoln Riley's a better coach. So I will take USC plus the points. Obviously, this game's in Vegas. It's closer to a home game for USC than it is for LSU. I'll take a shot here with the points in a game that should be a shootout. So the last one we're going to talk about is a Monday night, Boston College versus Florida State. If you watched Florida State and Ireland, they got absolutely manhandled by Georgia. It was an incredible performance by Georgia Tech. Ran the ball at will, just absolutely won the battle in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Forced DJ to throw downfield, and we all know he can't do that. So Boston College has the blueprint. I don't know that they have the personnel to do it. That's my hang up with this spot. So this spread prior to the Georgia Tech game was 20.5. I'm seeing it down to 16.5, 15.5 in some spots. And I can't buy into FSU. I have to see it because that performance against Georgia Tech was pathetic. But I won't be surprised if they cover this number. For me, the only play I can make in this game based off what I've seen is to take Boston College plus the 16.5 and trust that Boston College is going to try to do whatever they can to mimic what Georgia did. They obviously have a mobile quarterback in Castellanos, and in my opinion, he's more mobile than Haynes King. The arm talent's not as good, so I think that's a bit of my concern with like backing Boston College. But you got to look at the spot too, right? Like Florida State played in Ireland. It'll be at that point, it'll be 8 days, 9 days. I mean, they should be rested, I guess, but it's still, you're traveling across the world. It's a weird spot. Obviously, they'll be at home, so that's nice. But you lost. You have to travel from Ireland back home, and even with the time off in between, it's just a weird spot, So for me, I'm going to take a shot on Boston College plus 16.5. I don't love it, truthfully. Of all the things I've talked about in this video, it's probably my least favorite thing in this video. But FSU has to show me at this point. Okay, DJU, we saw what he looked like. It was terrible. I can't lay 16.5 with this team. So I will take a chance here on Boston College plus 16.5. Maybe look like a complete bozo when Florida State blows them out. But I just don't know that Florida State has the ability to blow anybody out. DJ can't throw more than 10 yards downfield. The receivers they brought in, everybody's like, oh, Malik Benson from Alabama. Well, he didn't play at Alabama. He was a backup at Alabama. Like, what are we talking about here? So, Roydell Williams, he's okay. But, again, he wasn't the guy at Alabama. He was just a guy at Alabama. So give me Boston College plus 16.5. I'll meet you guys at the cash counter. That does conclude my week 1 slate down. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Typically we'll do 10 games. Like I said, this week 1, there's a lot of tune-up games, a lot of games I didn't want to waste any time on. So kept it to 8, but hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's make a bunch of money. I'm Crusty K's. As always, you can get all of my official plays at goldboys.com. If you have a gambling problem, dial 1-800-GAMBLER. Thank you guys.